Hello everyone, I'm Mateo and today I'm going to be teaching you the fastest way to get takedowns and get max stats on all of your units in anime Vanguards. With the method that I'm about to show you, you can get 100% stat roll potential in just 5 minutes. And as you guys know, stat rerolling is one of the easiest ways to give you an edge in this game, so making sure that you can get the best stats possible on all of your units is super important. And all that's required to do this method is that you've done all 6 stages of at least one of the story modes, so I'm sure all of you guys watching can take full advantage of this. And all I ask is that you give this video a like and subscribe for more helpful anime Vanguards videos. Now let's get right into how you can get these takedowns. Alright you guys, so first of all, it's very important that you understand how stats actually work in this game and how potential works itself. In order to learn how it works, you come over here to Cyan here, who is the stat reroller, and after talking to him and going in here, you'll notice that something in the bottom left here says stat potential 100%. Now in order to get 100% stat roll potential, you need at least 5,000 takedowns on your unit, and every time that you actually roll a stat on that unit, this number is going to reset. So essentially you're going to be wasting all of your stat chips and super stat chips if you're rolling a stat on a unit that isn't at 100% potential. Now once you have this 100% stat potential on your unit, this means that whichever one that you roll, you're going to get at least guaranteed A stats. So if I go in here and select one of my units, my unit with the worst stats currently is my Sasuke here, who I use for stunning. So if I go ahead and select him, you can see that he has 53 stat potential because he has 2,600 takedowns since his last stat reroll. Now let's just say Sasuke was at 100% stat potential and then you reroll all. That means that all 3 of these are guaranteed to be at least A. Now on the other hand, if I just go here and use a super stat chip to just reroll one stat, that means that stat's going to be at least guaranteed A. So it's really important that you do spin whenever you're on 100% stat potential so that you're not wasting these chips ever. But typically in game, you are going to have plenty of these super stat chips as well as regular stat chips if you just play along with the game and do certain things. So essentially what it comes down to in order to get all of the best stats on your characters is just being able to farm these takedowns as quickly as possible so that you can reroll the stats. As you can see on my lineup here, I have a ton of units with ZZS, SZA, and then over here we even have Tengon, who is Z plus ZA. Now Z plus is actually the second highest stat that you can get. There is actually a stat that is higher than Z plus that a lot of people do not know about. And then even when you see a stat like A on Igris here, this is only because I had an S stat here, but I actually rerolled it trying to get something higher like a Z or Z plus or even the highest level stat. Now if you are watching this and you need some stat reroll chips in order to do this method, honestly the best way for you to get those stat chips is going to be by doing those 30-minute challenges right here, and then also doing the dailies for sure, as well as going through and completing all of the achievements is overall the best way that you're going to get these. Especially if I go down here to one of the Paragon achievements, you'll see that you get a stat chip for every 5 levels that you complete of a Paragon on the beginning worlds. So I definitely recommend that you guys go ahead and complete up to level 25 of the Paragon because you're going to get a ton of these stat chips. Now how you actually farm these takedowns is going to be on the Paragon itself. Now I definitely recommend farming to at least level 10 in order to speed this up. Now how Paragon works is there's going to be a ton of buffs to the enemies that you select, and the number of buffs depends on what level you're at in the Paragon. And there's one specific buff called Thrice, which basically makes it so every time you kill an enemy it multiplies into 3 new enemies. And because you can select this buff so many times in a row, you could actually kill over 5,000 enemies in just one Paragon run because of it. Now in order to get that 5,000 number, it's kind of difficult to say how many of these buffs you need to choose. I think on average you need around 7 of the Thrice buffs in order to hit that number. But honestly, the more of those buffs that you can select, the more takedowns that you're going to get for your units. And then Paragon, you can keep going up level by level for a very long time. So if I go in here and select Paragon and go to Nightmare mode, you can see I've gone up to Paragon level 26, but you don't really need to go that high high. You just need to do a high enough paragon where you can select at least 7 of these thrice bonuses. So for the purposes of this video, we're gonna head into paragon, and with Sasuke here, who is really bad at destroying groups of enemies at a time, we're gonna see if we can get him 5,000 takedowns in just one match. So we're gonna start at Nightmare, paragon level 25, and just see how many of these thrice bonuses that we can get. Now when you load in the game and you get the option to select all of these buffs, if you don't have thrice as an option, I would pick regen enemies because I think this is currently the easiest buff. But of course, pick thrice whenever it pops up, and you want at least half of the paragon choices that you have to be that thrice buff. And then of course, pick that regen if thrice is not there. And if regen is also not there, then I would pick the strong enemies because that is like the second easiest one. But yeah, we're getting a ton of thrices here, so it should be a very good level for getting takedowns on Sasuke here. Again, we get another thrice. We're gonna get so many of these options being at paragon level 25, but obviously you don't need paragon level 25 in order to do this. Just do whichever the highest level paragon level that you can get to is. And then of course we didn't get a regen there, so we had to pick strong enemies, regen, strong enemies, thrice, get another regen on top of that, and we should be good. So there we go. Now if you are playing with a unit that isn't good at taking out multiple enemies at once, your strategy here is gonna be to place like the max amount of those units as you can here at the front. And then if your main unit lets some of these get by, then you have some sort of backup defense like over here. But essentially you're going to want to get as many of those takedowns as you possibly can on your main unit. So for somebody like Sasuke, this is a setup I would personally use. But obviously, since he isn't good at taking out groups of enemies, there are going to be some stragglers that go through. So I'd put somebody like Vegeta here in the back to take care of the ones that get past. And that is pretty much it, you guys. You just want to be able to farm the majority of the takedowns that you can here at the beginning with that unit that you're trying to get the takedowns on. It is currently wave 13 and we have about 3,500 takedowns. So we're doing pretty good for a unit like Sasuke, who isn't good at destroying the mobs of units. And then when the final wave does come, you are going to want to build some sort of units that are good at fighting bosses, because the boss is going to be extremely hard to beat with the regen buffs that we picked on all of these enemies. Yeah, so as you guys can see, I messed up myself and didn't listen to my own advice and did not build enough defenses to actually kill the boss, because you can see how much he is regenerating. But what's important here is the amount of takedowns that you get. We got a total of 6,000 takedowns, which a majority of them were done by Sasuke here, so we will have 100% stat potential in this one match. Unfortunately, we couldn't actually beat the match, but we did what we came here to do, which is pretty much all that is important. So we can now return to lobby and actually re-roll that stat on Sasuke here. So if we select Sasuke, you will see that we have a total of 15,000 takedowns, so we are way over the 5,000 we needed for the stat potential. So we could just go here and then re-roll one of the stats, and as you can see, we got an S on him, so now we are a SS. Hopefully this video helps you so you guys can get a ton of good stats on all of your units as well. If you have any other tips, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below for other people that are watching. And if you do want access to more helpful anime Vanguards videos, make sure you subscribe and like this video as well. Hope to see you guys in the next video, and peace out.